going, everyone? Welcome back to my channel. I'm wearing red in a red room, which may not be the best choice. Oh well. This is actually a bonus upload. This is not one of my usual Tuesday videos, but I woke up this morning with a random just burst of inspiration and an idea of something that I wanted to make. And so in this video, I'm going to show you guys how I made this sort of vampire coffin bat inspired wall hanging, and yeah, let's just hop right in. So for this project, I'm using 100% acrylic yarn. This is Mainstay's brand. It's just the cheapest one that I could get at this size. It says it's size a medium 4. I don't know if that actually translates for other brands, but that's what I got. And I'm using a 5.25 millimeter crochet hook. So to get started, you're going to create a slip knot. And you're going to chain 11. After you've chained 11, you're going to single crochet into that first chain, and you're going to just do that for every single chain for this next row. Just one single crochet into every chain. So once you reach the end of that row, you're going to chain 1, and then into that first stitch in the row, you're going to put 2 single crochets. And then you're going to do single crochets all the way until you get to the last stitch in the row. So once you get to the last stitch, you're going to put 2 single crochets into that last stitch. All right. After you've done those 2 single crochet, you're going to chain 1, turn your work, and put 1 single crochet into every stitch for this next row. So once you've done that row of all just simple single crochet, you're going to chain 1 and then put 2 single crochet into that first stitch on the next row. Then you continue with just 1 single crochet in every other sorry, something flew by me. Single crochet all the way up until you get into the last stitch. And at that last stitch, you're going to put 2 single crochet. So basically at every other row, you're going to just increase in the first and last stitches. That's how you get the sort of like shape. You know how a coffin is shaped. So once you get to that last stitch of this row, you're going to put 2 single crochet. You can see how you're starting to get that shape where it is like bowing out to sort of get that coffin shape. So for the next row, You're going to chain one, turn your work, and just put one single crochet into every stitch of this row. To start your next row, you're going to chain one, turn your work, and then put two single crochet into the first chain, first stitch of this row, and then single crochet all the way up until you get to the last stitch where you'll increase again. Once you get to that last stitch, you're going to increase again. Then you're going to chain one. After you chain one, turn your work and just put one single crochet into every stitch in this row. At this point, I'm sure you can sort of see the pattern of increasing the ends every other row until you reach your desired width. You know, every coffin is shaped a little bit differently, and so you can sort of like eyeball it, how far you want to go with the width of your coffin, and that will sort of determine how big your overall size is probably going to be by the end. Personally, I want mine to be pretty big, so I'm going to chain one, and I'm going to do another round increasing. So 2 single crochet into your first stitch, and then 1 single crochet into the next stitches until you reach the last stitch where you'll increase again. You're going to chain one and then one more row of just 1 single crochet into every stitch. All right. So I think at this point I have my top bit about as wide as I want it to be, and so now we are going to start our decreasing. So do this. You're going to chain 1 and you're going to skip that first stitch in the row and single crochet into the second stitch. And then you're just going to put 1 single crochet all the way up until the third to last stitch in the row. All right, so when you are at 2, 3 from the end, ooh, my voice broke. You're going to single crochet, skip the second to last stitch and just do 1 single crochet into the last stitch. So at each end, you're going to be skipping 1. You're going to chain 1, flip your work, and then do 1 single crochet into every stitch on this row. We're basically following the same pattern that we did to increase, except now we are decreasing. So we'll do 1 row decreasing, at every end and one row just plain normal. Alright, next you're going to chain 1, and then you are going to turn your work, and you're going to skip the first stitch in this row and go to the second stitch, decreasing once again. Once again, when you get to the last 2 stitches, you're going to skip the second to last stitch and go straight into the last stitch. If I can get my hook in there. Hello? There we go. Alright. Chain 1, and then just 1 single crochet into every stitch in this row. So for this next row, I'm going to chain 1, turn your work, skip the first stitch, go straight into the second stitch on that row, single crochet into the rest of the stitches on this row until you get to the second to last one where you're gonna skip it. Once you get to that second to last stitch, skip it straight into the last stitch on this row. Chain 1, turn your work, 1 single crochet into every stitch on this row. So once you reach the end of that row, you're going to chain 1, and this is going to be our last row decreasing. If I said that before, I lied. I do not remember what I said, but I realized that it needed 1 more row of decreasing. So skip that first stitch, go into the second stitch, single crochet until you get to the second to last one, skip the second to last stitch. Once you get to the second to last stitch, skip it, go straight into the last stitch. Once you get to here and you have this sort of hexagonal shape going for you, this will be the end of our decreasing. So at this stage, your row should be about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 stitches across. So when you have the bottom of your hexagon is equivalent to the top of your hexagon, you can stop decreasing and dude, chill out. Ooh, my package is here, I think. We'll grab that in a second. Once these 2 things are equal, you will stop decreasing and just do rows of single crochet until your coffin is your desired length. So we'll meet back here after that's done. Alright, so this is what we're looking at with about 10 rows after you reach the end of the hexagon. And so now we are going to do a border to sort of clean up the edges and help like pronounce the shape some more. So once you get to the end of your last row of single crochet and you've reached your desired length of coffin, you're going to chain 1, and then you're going to stitch along the edges of your work. Chain 1, and just put 1 single crochet into every little slot on the side. I don't really know what they're called, the little side slots, because they aren't like a stitch. Are they? Listen, I like to crochet. I don't really know the technical words for it, but single crochet along these little slots until we get to where our farthest point is, but I'll tell you what to do when we get there. You're going to single crochet along your edge until you get to this widest point on your coffin. And once you get to that point, you are going to chain 2, then yarn over, and then you're going to half double crochet into that point on your coffin. So go through, and then you're going to pull through all 3 loops on your hook. If I can do it, there we go. And then you're just going to single crochet into the next stitch. And by doing that half double crochet into that stitch, you are sort of accentuating that point a little bit more to help emphasize the shape. You're just going to single crochet along. So once you reach this next corner on your coffin, after you finish stitching along this short side here, you are going to chain 1 before you go into the next stitch. That just helps keeping your edges still kind of pointy, because otherwise they'll get a little bit rounded off as you're going along. You're just going to stitch into every stitch along the border. And once again, once you reach this corner, after you've gone along the top, you're going to chain 1 before you round the edge, just to keep those edges pointy. And once again, you are going to reach this wide point at the edge of your coffin, and so you're once again going to chain 2, yarn over, and half double crochet into that point. Well, we'll just try that again. My yarn slipped off. So you're going to half double crochet into that point. So yarn over, pull through all 3 loops, and then go back to single crocheting. And you're just going to single crochet all the rest of the way down the side until you reach the bottom. Forgive all the pet hair. I have light colored pets. I like things in black, so that's just the price you pay. So once you reach the bottom of your coffin, just like for all the other corners, you're going to chain 1 and then slip stitch into the first stitch on your bottom row. And then you're going to pull through one more time to secure. I'm gonna find my scissors. Cut off your yarn. Out. Tighten it. And so this is what you should be sort of working with so far. Have these little tails. You can tuck all of our tails in at the end. So you could stop here and then like use this for whatever, but this is still pretty plain and not very exciting. So, alright, so now we are going to add a cross to the front of our coffin. So in order to do that, I've cut a length of white yarn. This is probably way more than I need. This is like probably 4 or 5 feet or so. I just would rather be safe than sorry. And make sure the front of your work is facing you, so like right side up. I'll be honest with you, I don't fully know the difference between the right side and the wrong side of a piece of crochet. I don't really know what the front of the stitch or the back of the stitch looks like. This is purely just based on vibes. Whatever side you think would look good facing you, choose that side to be your front. And now I just sort of find the center of my work by counting in from the edges until you sort of find the center stitch. And once you sort of find that center, you're just going to go down, follow that point until you find where you want your cross to start. Once you find that, you're going to put your hook through from the back towards the front. I will also put it out there now. I know that you're probably supposed to do this with like a yarn needle, but I don't know where mine is. I bought some like a long time ago, and I never used them, and now I don't know where they are. So I do this way. If there's a better way to do it, by all means, I encourage you. So you pull this through to the back. So you pull it through, so it's sticking out the back, and then you're going to go over 2 stitches in that same row and do the same thing again. You're going to stick it through from the back, and you're going to pull your whole length of yarn through. And to help secure it, you're going to pull it back through that same original hole that you pulled it in from. So it's wrapping completely around to help give it some tension when you pull on it. So once you have this pulled through, you're going to go down a few spaces, and in line with where this came out, you're going to pull your yarn through. Just pull this through, and then you're going to go over 3 stitches and sort of go in through the front of your work and pull your yarn through from the back. And then you're going to put your hook through from the back to the front and pull your yarn through that same hole. I decided to just go ahead and sort of speed through the rest of this process. As you can see, you just go back and forth pulling the yarn through until you get the yarn shape that you want. And you can just sort of see what I'm doing here to make this cross shape. Once the coffin was finished, I started working on the bats. So to do this, I used the tutorial that I linked in the description box below. I figured it'd be pretty redundant to just show the same information that she gave in that video, but I decided to include some footage of me trying to follow the tutorial for the first time. I did I struggled a bit, but you know what? They all came together in the end, and I made 3 bats using this tutorial, but if you want to make more, you could do that. If you want to make less, it is totally up to you. This is just what I'm doing for my project. Now that all the little bats are made, it is time to attach them to our project. So, ow! How did I mess up snapping that hard? Alright, so to attach these, I'm finding the sort of center point on my coffin, though judging by my cross placement, you can tell my ability to find center is not perfect. So, this is the price of eyeballing things. And I'm just going to attach this white yarn to the bottom here, then just slip stitch to hold that in place. And then you're going to chain to the desired length that you want your bats to sort of hang. So I'm not really counting these, I'm just sort of eyeballing it, which, you know, perhaps I pay the price for my hubris with the way I like to eyeball things, but you know, I think I'm gonna make this a little shorter, so I'm just gonna pull my hook out, just remove some of these. Alright, so to attach him, I have sort of slid my yarn through the back loops of the center sort of stitch that goes between his little eyeballs that the lady, if you watch the tutorial, sort of referred to how these little holes are kind of like eyeballs. If you go into that center triple crochet, you're just going to slide your yarn into that back stitch. That way it's not really visible from the front. And then you're just going to pull it through, do a little slip stitch, and then keep chaining until you get to the desired length that you want to put your second bat. 5, 6, 7, 8. Just sort of making sure that the same amount of chains are visible between all the bats. So once again, you just sort of just slide it through that back couple of loops on the triple crochet, and then you're just going to keep chaining. This is probably my best one. I started getting the hang of it towards the end. These little bat applique dudes are a little bit trickier than some of the other things that I've made, but I think they came out really cute. Once you attach your last bat, you can chain one to sort of secure, then cut that off, pull it through, tighten it down, and sort of fold this little tail back up into the chain a little bit, because if you weave it into the bat, it'll be sort of visible. Sort of cut that off. We have our little dangling bats. So now we're going to make our little loop so that we can actually hang this wall hanging. What a concept. So I've counted in about 5 stitches from the end, and I'm going to attach this black yarn back to the ends. just sort of slip stitch that on. And then you're going to chain 3, skip a stitch, skip a stitch, and then slip stitch into that stitch. And then just chain 1 to sort of secure it. Cat hair everywhere. Turn that off, pull it tight. You have your little loop. Now it's all just about going through and tucking in all of your ends, getting them trimmed down. Because the back's already a mess, you can just like pull all your tails to the back of the project and you won't really be able to see them because they'll be up against the wall anyway. If you wanted to like save yourself a little bit of time, you can do it that way. But I'm just going to pull all my tails in and then show you what it looks like hung up and say bye. Here it is up on my wall. As you can see, the wall sort of helps stop the bats from rotating in the wrong direction. And yeah, I think it came out really cute. I really like it. And I know I don't usually do crochet stuff on this channel, but if you want to see the other sort of artsy, craftsy stuff that I like to do, go ahead and subscribe. I have a lot of videos planned for the September, October spooky season, so if you don't want to miss any of that, make sure to subscribe. And if you like this sort of crochet stuff, let me know. This very much was a random stroke of inspiration, so I can't guarantee that I'll do much more stuff like this, but it was fun, so who knows. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you guys next time. Love you, bye!